Good evening. The US Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has hit out at the horrific Islamist terror attack at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir and said she stands in solidarity with India in our times of grief. Tulsi Gabbard is the Director of United States National Intelligence. She's their top spy director, and she took to social media platform X to say, and I quote, "We stand in solidarity with India in the wake of the horrific Islamist terrorist attack targeting and killing 26 Hindus in Pahalgam. My prayers and deepest sympathies are with those who lost a loved one. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and with all the people of India. We are with you and support you as you hunt down those responsible for this heinous attack." Unquote. As the US Director of National Intelligence, Gabbard's strong support actually reinforces the strategic partnership between the United States and India, particularly in the field of counter-terrorism. Her statement actually aligns with the broader US commitment to back India's strong pursuit for justice. Now, this is something that US President Donald Trump has spoken of. This is something that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has repeatedly spoken of. And remember, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Bihar, he pledged to track, trace and punish the perpetrators of terror wherever they may be hiding. Whichever part of earth, they'll be hunted down and brought to justice. We get you details of India-US cooperation and partnership. We also get you details of the spike in tensions and reports of panic in Pakistan. Major development on the Indus Waters Treaty. India has decided to take decisive steps to ensure not a single drop of water is given to Pakistan. The decision was taken at a high-level meeting chaired by Union Home Minister Amit Shah and attended by Union Jal Shakti Minister C.R. Patil. Now, this was a meeting that was also attended by the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. And after this meeting that lasted over 2 hours, India today has learned that Union Home Minister Amit Shah suggested several important points, and these important points are to be implemented very soon. The implementation will be done in a step-by-step manner. So there is a three-pronged strategy. There are short-term measures that are to be undertaken. There are medium-term measures and long-term measures that will be undertaken. From what top government sources are telling India today, and we'll get our reporters on ground to join you for more on this big story, India's signal is very clear. India will not give Pakistan, and here I'm quoting top government officials and ministers, India won't give Pakistan even a single drop of water. Now, does this mean additional drop more than their entitlement when they say the treaty is being held in abeyance? What does this mean? We'll decode that. The decision to hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance will be implemented 100%. India has formally notified Pakistan in writing about the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. Secretary of the Ministry of Jal Shakti, Devashri Mukherjee, has shot off a letter to the Secretary of Pakistan's Ministry of Water Resources, Syed Ali Murtaza, on the Indian government's decision through a letter, and that letter we are putting out on your television screens. India has issued notice for changes in the Indus Waters Treaty. The letter states that Indian government has given notice to the Pakistani government for amendments to the treaty. The notice mentions that several fundamental aspects of the treaty have been changed and require reconsideration. And what are these changes? Population changes, the development of clean energy, and various factors related to water distribution as outlined in the treaty. Any treaty should be implemented in good faith. And this is India making a very clear point to Pakistan. Any treaty should be implemented in good faith, but Pakistan is promoting cross-border terrorism in the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So they kill our people, and this is the interpretation. They kill our people, and then they expect us to give them additional water as per a treaty of 1960, which anyway was heavily loaded in favor of Pakistan. I want to quickly cut across to India Today's Himanshu Mishra, breaking this big story here on India Today. Himanshu, इंडस वाटर ट्रीटीज को सरकार ने तो ये कहा इट विल बी हेल्ड इन अबेयंस, यानी इसको स्थगित कर दिया जाएगा, इस पर अभी कार्यान्वयन नहीं होगा। ये जो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बैठक हुई है गृह मंत्रालय अमित शाह के पास, जिसमें विदेश मंत्री भी थे, जल शक्ति मंत्री भी थे, इसमें क्या क्या निष्कर्ष निकल कर आया है, आप हमारे दर्शकों को क्या बता सकते हैं?
कूटनीतिक स्तर पर जो है भारत अब पाकिस्तान को घेर रहा है, और इसी सिलसिले में आज जो है इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी को लेकर जो है गृह मंत्री अमित शाह के साथ जल शक्ति मंत्री सीआर पाटिल की बैठक हुई। वहां ये तय हुआ कि 3 तरीके के फार्मूले पे काम होगा। एक शॉर्ट फार्मूले के साथ काम होगा, एक मिड टर्म फार्मूले पे काम होगा, एक लॉन्ग टर्म फार्मूले पे काम होगा, जिससे एक भी बूंद जो है पानी आने वाले दिनों में जो है वो पाकिस्तान के पास ना जाए। सीसीएस का जो फैसला था इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी को पाकिस्तान के साथ रद्द करने का, उसको लेकर कल जल शक्ति मंत्रालय के जो सचिव हैं मुखर्जी, उन्होंने पत्र लिख दिया पाकिस्तान के जल शक्ति सचिव को, और अब आज उसको लेकर एक फर्दर बैठक हो गई, और उस फर्दर बैठक में कहा गया एक बूंद पानी ना जाए। उसको लेकर ये भी विकल्प तलाशे जा रहे हैं कि भारत में जो सिंधु नदी है उसका जो पानी है उसको ज्यादा से ज्यादा स्टोर करने के लिए जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी है उसका इस्तेमाल किया जाए, जो डीसिल्ड है उसको किया जाए, साथ में जो वर्ल्ड बैंक देख रहा है इस पूरे मामले में उसको भी जो है इस ट्रीटी को कैंसिल करने की जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है वो दे दी जाएगी समय रहते हुए। तो एक तरीके से भारत पूरी तरीके से जो है पाकिस्तान के ऊपर नकेल कसना चाहता है, और भारत इस बात को भली भांति जानता है कि सिंधु जल संधि जो है उसके तहत पाकिस्तान को अगर ये पानी मिलना बंद हो जाएगा तो पाकिस्तान के अंदर जो है वो त्राही त्राही होगी, उससे उसके जो जल जीवन है उस पर फर्क पड़ेगा, व्यापारिक स्तर पे पड़ेगा, आर्थिक स्तर पर जो है वो फर्क पड़ेगा। और ऐसे में अगर ये ट्रीटी रद्द होती है और इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन अगले 6 महीने में होता है तो कहीं ना कहीं ये कह सकते हैं कि पाकिस्तान की जो अर्थव्यवस्था और जल जीवन है उसकी कमर टूट सकती है। और इसी नजरिए से अगर आप देखेंगे तो भारत तरीके से हर मोर्चे पर पाकिस्तान को घेरना चाहता है, क्योंकि जिस तरीके का हमला हुआ है मुझे लगता है अब पाकिस्तान को उसी भाषा में जवाब दिया जा रहा है जो भाषा पाकिस्तान और वहां के जो आतंकी संगठन है वो उसको समझते हैं।
ठीक, लेट्स ट्राई। हिमांशु, आप इस खबर पर नजर बनाए रखिए, ताजा जानकारी के लिए फिर मैं आपके पास लौट कर आऊंगा। जॉइनिंग मी नाउ ऑन द स्पेशल ब्रॉडकास्ट इज इंडिया टुडेज Anisha Mathur. She'll give us a legal position on this. Also with me on this special broadcast, Ambassador Veena Sikri, former top diplomat, and joining us from Pakistan is senior journalist Mona Alam. Welcome to all my guests. Let me try and understand the legal position right now from Anisha Mathur, who joins me on this special broadcast. So, Anisha, India Today has accessed this letter that's been written by Debarshri Mukherjee, who's secretary in the Jal Shakti Ministry, to Syed Ali Murtaza, who's Secretary Ministry of Water Resources in Pakistan. And in this letter, I want to draw your attention to point number 3 as our viewers watch this letter. The obligation to honor a treaty in good faith is fundamental to a treaty. However, what we have seen instead of is sustained cross-border terrorism by Pakistan targeting the Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The resulting security uncertainties have directly impeded India's full utilization of its rights under the treaty. Furthermore, apart from other breaches committed by it, Pakistan has refused to respond to India's request to enter into negotiations as envisaged under the treaty, and is thus a breach of the treaty. Legally, Anisha, is India on a strong, sound legal footing?
Well, Gaurav, we'll have to see this from the perspective of international law.
Yes.
Now, remember, India and Pakistan have signed this treaty back in 1960. It has been in force. And in fact, the Indus Water Treaty has even been cited across the world as an example of bilateral cooperation. But we've been speaking to senior lawyers, we've been speaking to people familiar with the working of this treaty and the Indus Water system and how it's been working all this while. And what is very clear is that India is taking a very nuanced stand that under the law of treaties, under the international convention, that is the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties, a country is in fact entitled to either suspend or unilaterally cancel a treaty if there is a fundamental change in circumstances. Now, that is the phrase that India will be using, whether it is in the letters that we are sending to Pakistan, whether it is the diplomatic conversations we will need to have with other countries,
Yes.
or whether it is discussions here in the media or elsewhere. India is going to prove that the treaty in 1960 was signed in the spirit of cooperation, in the spirit of friendship. And in these intervening years, with the population change, with environmental changes, and most importantly, with the fact that Pakistan has not cooperated, that Pakistan is still harboring terrorists, in fact, supporting the terror attacks on India.
Yes.
This constitutes a valid fundamental change in circumstance. And that argument that the senior lawyers are telling us will have to be used by India on the international stage.
Stay with me as I draw in Mona Alam into this conversation and Ambassador Sikri. Mona, is it sinking in? India holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance, because there's a fundamental change that has happened, that is sustained cross-border terrorism by Pakistan. And perhaps the message is that blood of innocent Indians cannot be spilt by Pakistan and then expect that we will continue to generously give more than Pakistan's share of the water.
Thank you, Gaurav. I really like the way Anisha spoke on the legal aspects of the matter. I think, as far as I could interpret from her conversation, she said that you're going to build a case in the international fora that the friendship on which the treaty was signed in the first place does not exist between India and Pakistan
because of cross-border terrorism by Pakistan.
That still has to be established, because there hasn't been any, fair inquiry or investigation into the matter. I think that
because Pakistan refuses to investigate.
You know what, Gaurav, I think my defense minister has been on record for, expressing condemnation of the attack and expressing sorrow at the loss of lives. I haven't heard a single Indian minister express any such sorrow for the loss of lives here of innocents in Balochistan. In fact, I've spoken about it multiple times with you that India was in jubilation whenever that innocents were being attacked, slaughtered here in Pakistan. So I'm happy to note, and I second the defense minister in this. I'm very sad for the incident which has happened. It has indeed caused loss of innocent lives, but it has nothing to do with Pakistan. I mean, as far as I have gathered, I've gathered my neutral information on the matter, and I think it seriously needs a probe as to whether this was from Pakistan or this was a false flag operation.
False flag operation is a bogey floated by Pakistan. It actually, it's adding salt to our wounds. You know, the collective psyche of Indians is so shaken by not yours, but in general Pakistan's absolute shamelessness. Absolute shamelessness of Pakistan. I don't mean it personally in your instance, because, I want to understand, such a radical Islamist state sponsor of terrorism that Pakistan is. There's absolutely, it's just shocking. I want to bring in Ambassador Sikri into this conversation, because I don't intend getting into a tutu meme slanging match when I have seen those videos of Hindus being singled out by radical Islamist terrorists and shot dead at point blank range. I have also lived through 1990, Ambassador Sikri, I've lived through 1990, where mosque loudspeakers And I've read those reports, Raliv, Galiv, ya Saliv, when Hindus were thrown out of Kashmir. So we've seen mass exodus in our own country. And I'm sorry, I don't intend seeing another mass exodus from within our country, at least not in our lifetimes. Ambassador Sikri, is India on the right track on Indus Water Treaty, perhaps sending that message that blood and water cannot flow together?
Absolutely. India is totally on the right track. And also, I must say, I'm quite shocked to see what your colleague from Pakistan is saying. They seem to be in complete denial. They're not even talking about the Indus Waters Treaty as though it doesn't exist, or as though the decision that Indian government has announced hasn't taken place at all. So they are living in complete denial, and they are not even recognizing the seriousness with which the Indian government is taking the situation, and the way in which we are planning. We are saying within India has every right to take the steps that is now planning to take. The letter worded by the Secretary Jal Shakti Ministry is very carefully worded, very correctly worded, and makes it very clear that the situation is being brought about entirely because of what Pakistan has been doing all these years. And of course, terrorism is one very big factor. And to be in denial not only on the Indus Waters Treaty, but also about the lashkar-e-taiba being responsible for this attack. Everybody, the whole world over is talking about that. In parliament across the world, in UK and others, they're talking about lashkar-e-taiba being responsible for this, or one element of their, one group among there. And here in Pakistan, which is the home of the lashkar-e-taiba, they're in complete denial. So it's very unreal, surreal kind of conversation.
It indeed is. And it's actually very hurtful. I'll tell you why, Mona. Hafiz Mohammad Saeed lives in Pakistan, in Murid Ke. He's a Pakistani citizen. Many say a well-respected Pakistani citizen. There are also those who've seen him lead the Eid namaz at the Gaddafi Stadium. So can you imagine, Mona, a UN-designated banned terrorist leading Eid namaz at Gaddafi Stadium? Or that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, Jaish-e-Mohammed is a terrorist organization, again, UN-designated banned terrorist organization operating out of Pakistan. And such a long list. The United Nations Sanctions 1267 Committee, largest number of sanctioned terrorists live in your country. Tell me this, Mona, as a citizen of Pakistan, does that upset you, or does that not upset you that the largest number of terrorists on that sanctions committee live in Pakistan?
I think what upsets me further is the fact that, all of this is complete deviation. I think this is a very generic kind of tirade against Pakistan, because
it's a
it
fact.
seems
How
to be,
can it be a tirade?
You know what? Let me finish now. It seems as though, you're trying to throw everything on Pakistan, hoping that something would stick, right?
I am not throwing it. I'm not hoping. Mona, as far as I am concerned, Pakistan is a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror. I don't need to be convinced. I don't think any Indian needs to be convinced anymore, especially after we have lived through 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. Ajmal Amir Kasab came from Faridkot in Pakistan. Do you deny that? Am I trying to make something stick? The other 9 terrorists came from Pakistan. David Coleman Headley is of Pakistani origin. Captain Tahawwur Hussain Rana is of Pakistani origin. Osama bin Laden was killed in Abbottabad in Pakistan. Kitni baar? It sounds like,
let me take this point by
shake
point,
you?
Because you kind of throw everything at me. I'd say it again, and hoping that something or the other would stick, right? Let me take it point by point. And if you don't allow me the time to take it point by point, then this simply means that this is just a tirade. It's a rhetoric. But you know what? I want to make a point. Madam Ambassador has spoken about the nature of the treaty, and that Pakistan seems to be living in denial. Madam Ambassador, I think if I tell you and if I speak for the sentiment here in Pakistan regarding this treaty, we've made it very clear that this will be taken as an act of war, and this will be taken in the ambit of water terrorism if India dares to take any such measures.
Dares nahi, le liya. Held in abeyance kar diya.
सुने तो सही, Gaurav, if you want to practically do something, practically if you want to block waters of Pakistan, then you will have to construct some dams. It's going to take decades. And even if you do, I've spoken to some ministers here at the Helm of Affairs. They're saying we are very well in the position to bomb those dams. I mean, they've gone to this extent. They're actually warning India of this dire circumstances if India does any such misadventure.
Okay, Ambassador Sikri wants to come in because clearly your ministers live in cuckoo land. They live in cuckoo land because
Because,
you dare
you
do
know,
that.
otherwise
You know,
you
that
would
Pakistan
otherwise
will
be
face
filling buckets.
consequences and your
How else
pow
would you
kilo
stop
bum
water?
will
It's not
not save
practically
you.
possible.
Trust me on this.
It's an
Ambassador Sikri wanted to come in.
impractical, solution or narrative that you're just selling to your domestic audience.
No, no,
Gaurav,
my
look, I'm
channel
not
is
going to
watched
come on your
more in
show
your
again.
country and across the
Gaurav,
world. My
look,
domestic audience
Gaurav,
anyway is convinced, but go on, Ambassador Sikri.
no, I am not going to come on your show again if you're going to have discussions like this. This is completely
Ambassador
unacceptable.
Sikri only, Ambassador
You're going
Sikri.
on and on and on, giving face to a person who is talking complete irrelevant stuff. I mean, as I said, I just said that the world is accepting that this is an attack by Lashkar-e-Taiba.
Yes.
Everybody in the world. And here you have a person saying that this is not true, and you're giving the person time again and again and again. What is this all about? What is this all about, Gaurav?
It is to expose such elements and that thinking. But go on, Ambassador.
I would like to say that the attack on innocent pilgrims in itself was an act of war. There is no other act of war beyond that. What we are doing is looking within our complete rights. We have explained everything to the counterpart in the Pakistan government about why we are doing what we are doing. Everything has been properly explained. And it is the act of war committed by the terrorists on innocent Indian pilgrims that has got us started off on this track. And we want to say that the only effort India should be making now, this water is going to happen on its own. There are meetings being held. They shouldn't dream about of building dams. There's so many provisions in the treaty which we were not even implementing because of problems raised by the Pakistan side. I've seen the analysis in the Dawn newspaper itself, which expresses this real concern about even a 5 to 10% shortage in water supply from the western rivers and what impact it would have on Pakistan. So I would request you, Gaurav, please, next time you call me on your show, please don't have a discussion like this because this is not acceptable to me.
No, I completely agree with you. But Ambassador, I also want Indians to know what's happening on the other side of the hill. Because, you know, for way too long. Hold on.
Pakistan as a state sponsor of terror. That is the only effort we should be working on with our international community who have expressed so much sympathy and interest for India in this, and sympathy for India in this side. Pakistan is a state sponsor of terror, and the sooner it is declared so by the international community, the better it will be. I will not have to listen to all this kind of stuff on your show. If
I completely agree with you. No, but my limited point is, Ambassador, we must know what is the thought process on the other side. It is very important because I'll tell you why I want to put this out. We have too many of these Aman Ki Asha types in our country. Too many. We have too many in our country who are also who are beholden to the Ghulam Nabi Faiz. You and I know them, Ambassador, but our country at large doesn't. And that is why I want our country to know what we are dealing with. When an
but you can't have somebody saying something exactly the opposite of the truth all the time in a real Goebbels fashion, that if you repeat it often enough, it will become the truth. It doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that.
I completely agree with you, but to stay on the substantive point on the debate, Ambassador Sikri, before I bring in Mona Alam, and I want you to, Ambassador Sikri, tell our Pakistani guest and the world at large the reactions that are coming in from the United States of America, from the United Kingdom, from countries like Israel, countries like, across the world, Germany, Australia, world over, the reactions that are coming in, Ambassador Sikri, vis-a-vis Pakistan's false fake narrative. Because Pakistan doesn't seem to care, and I want to know why. But go on, Ambassador Sikri, what does that indicate?
Well, I can tell you one thing about what the Pakistani defense minister said today. They actually revealed that we are supporting these groups because we are doing the West dirty work. So they actually revealed that, yes, these groups are there, number one. And number two, the Pakistan government is supporting them. They actually revealed that today. So I don't know what your colleague from across the border is trying to say, that we don't know what this is and we're doing inquiries. He actually admitted it in a press conference today. So why are we even talking about the fact of, Lashkar-e-Taiba not being there or being there? We know, the world knows, Pakistan defense minister has admitted that we support these groups because they are doing the West dirty work. And I'm telling you, you're absolutely right. There is a huge amount of support coming in, because the world community, Israel, USA, who have tremendous capabilities of intelligence gathering and have tremendous capabilities of knowing what is the situation on the ground, these countries are completely accepting that, yes, these were Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists and they have come and killed innocent tourists, and this is unacceptable. And they
Absolutely.
fully realize what India is saying. Tulsi Gabbard's message is worth reading, the one she sent today. And I think we have to base ourselves on this and take action on that. The Indus Waters Treaty is a very brilliant first step. For 15 years, it is being discussed in India. And today, I'm very glad that the government has taken this decision, because it was such an unequal treaty. And not only being unequal, it was being implemented in a completely one-sided fashion,
Yes.
where India put pressured upon to give up all its rights under the treaty. And even what we were doing in terms of run-of-the-river projects and so on, we were being stopped because the design was being checked or the working of it was being checked. So all this has made us decide that we are going to stop and keep in abeyance the Indus Waters Treaty, and step by step, as outlined in the meeting chaired by Home Minister Amit Shah today, we are going to make sure that we are able to use the waters for the benefit of the people of India. And
Absolutely.
Yes, and I think that we must work on this, getting Pakistan declared a state sponsor of terror, of getting the
before we work on getting
Pakistan
declared a state sponsor of terror, shouldn't we declare Pakistan a state sponsor of terror officially? Because, we have somebody in Bollywood who'll still invite a Pakistani movie star. We'll have somebody who'll still invite a Pakistani musician. And then we'll say, but the government hasn't declared Pakistan a terrorist state. So we have so many weaknesses within that we need to sort out, it seems. Yes. But Mona Alam, irrespective of what your political friend or minister told you, that they think that they can bomb India, I'm sure they can. But then, they also think of Ghazwa-e-Hind. And Pakistan's lived in this cuckoo land of Ghazwa-e-Hind since 1947. They haven't succeeded. But be that as it may, how does Indus Water Treaties, the Waters Treaty, in case India just utilizes what is rightfully ours, how does that impact Pakistan?
Look, Gaurav, I think I was just trying to make a point that even if you want to hold it in abeyance or suspend it, it will not be done overnight. I mean, you cannot stop flows of water, practically speaking, until and unless you build a dam or you try to divert that flow elsewhere. This is what I was all talking about. And I responded
there is a lot
very
more that you will learn in the
to-
next couple of weeks, but go on, Mona.
Yeah, that's fair. You can give your best. You can, all the best to you, rather. In fact, I would wish you the best in whatever that you want to do. We will respond in a much aggressive manner. That I can assure you of. But
Okay.
Whatever that ambassador was speaking about, I just want to make a respectful point to her. I respectfully just made my point. I spoke to her in extremely polite manner, but I think I don't know why.
But in India we don't like it. We seriously don't. When Pakistan remains in denial, if Hafiz Saeed is a chicha in Pakistan, he may be Pakistan's chacha. Then Indians should know that we should not be dealing when your chacha and poopa are Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar.
I was just
No, I want you to understand this, Mona. If Hafiz Saeed is your chacha and if Masood Azhar is your poopa, then we should know that everybody in Pakistan is just a 50 shade of Hafiz Saeed. Whether you're educated or illiterate, your army chief and Hafiz Saeed speak the same language. But perhaps that's the point. That's the point I want every Indian to know.
Once in our debate as well that he just spoke about two-nation theory. It's a theory which is globally taught in schools across the globe by Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
Two-nation theory flopped. It flopped when Bangladesh became an independent country. It flopped when Afghanistan started beating Pakistan. Ambassador Sikri, it is taught globally only in Pakistani madrasas. It's only taught in Pakistani madrasas, it seems, Ambassador Sikri.
Yes, I would like to say two things about, since your colleague from across the border is referring to the statement made by the Chief of Army Staff, who's also known as Maulana Asim Mir, that, the two-nation theory, far from being taught in schools all across the world, is being said clearly that when Bangladesh was formed, the two-nation theory was shattered, number one.
Exactly.
And number two, I think to see the way in which the expression of hatred against people of a certain religion, of the Hindus living in India, expressed by the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan. Horrendous to watch. A person of that stature, when you're supposed to talk about making friendship, and the person of that stature expressing personal hatred on the basis of a religion and saying it to people of Pakistani origin in that matter, what does it say about the nation of Pakistan? What does
it's
it say?
It's a failed radical Islamist terror state.
They want to be recognized in the community of nations. Or do they want to spread this kind of hatred among their people?
It survives on begging bowl. And that's the point I want every Indian to know. It's a radical Islamist terror state. Most of these people you speak to, they may be very suave and seriously, very suave, Oxbridge accents, everything. Scratch beneath the surface. Bring up Kashmir. Talk about Indus Waters Treaty, and they are 50 shades of Hafiz Saeed. Trust me, I have seen this over decades, reporting on Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror. And we'll track this story very closely. I want our viewers to know why this Indus Waters Treaty is so crucial in terms of why Pakistan is panicking. Ambassador Sikri and Mona Alam for joining me here on India First. Many thanks. I now want to talk about the Indus Waters Treaty. Holding the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance is Pakistan's worst fear coming true. Worst fear. Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terrorists singling out Hindu tourists and killing them at point-blank range in cold blood has angered the nation, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very clearly sending out a signal. Water for Pakistan is not more precious than the blood of innocent Indians that Pakistani terrorists backed by the Pakistani state have been spilling for decades. So what does holding the treaty in abeyance mean? Let me explain this. It means no meetings of the Indus Waters commissioners. It means no data sharing with Pakistan. No advance information of any new projects along the Indus rivers to be given to Pakistan. India can now build dams, improve dams without any objection from Pakistan, or even if there's any objection, India will not care because the treaty is held in abeyance. It's actually good, as one analyst told me, for the speedy development of Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, Chief Minister Omar Abdullah has also said the Indus Waters Treaty, the way it was signed in 1960, was unfair to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So no field visits of Pakistani officials to the Indus Waters Treaty to all these rivers. No publication of any annual report. So when none of this happens, what would that entail? What does that mean? It means Pakistan will slowly have no visibility on the Indus water management. Pakistan's agriculture sector, which according to some reports from Pakistan accounts for approximately 24% of Pakistan's GDP and employs about 40% of Pakistani workforce, is heavily dependent on the Indus River system. Around 80% of Pakistan's cultivated land, which is approximately 16 million hectares according to reports in Pakistan, relies extensively on the waters from the western rivers, which is Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, for irrigation, especially in Pakistan's Punjab and Sindh provinces. But that's not all. Several Pakistani cities, including Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad, depend on the Indus waters for the domestic water supply. So any reduction in the river flow will also lead to water shortages in cities. Pakistan relies on the Indus system for hydroelectric power, with dams like Tarbela and Mangla contributing very significantly to Pakistan's national electricity grid. Reduced water flows could impair power generation, and this would lead to energy shortages and economic disruptions in Pakistan. So it's not just their agriculture, it's their economy, it's also urban living, rural living, urban living, and their industries. Now, Pakistan has to decide, is terror more important for them or is water more important for them? The ball is in Pakistan's court. Now, in the wake of this deadly Pahalgam terror attack by Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terrorists, India has pledged there will be a strong response. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's warning has sent shockwaves across Pakistan. It's triggered red alerts, it's triggered frantic military activity, and Pakistan's ministers are now on camera admitting, yes, they had ties with terror. And of course, there are reports of firing along the LOC, speculative fire. So Pakistan is panicking. Anytime they hear any movement at night, and these are reports that came from last night, any movement heard, Pakistanis would open fire, suspecting this is where the surgical strike is coming from. So this is Pakistan's fear. Any fighter jet taking off in India, Pakistan would scramble multiple fighter jets. So they're exhausting their fuel, which they can ill afford to do. They're exhausting flying hours on their aircraft, airframe life, their engine life, everything's being reduced. But anyways, well, it's their funeral. Tension in Pakistan is escalating. And how? We get you more in this report.
India has vowed strong retaliatory action in Pakistan after the Pahalgam terror attack.
उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's pledge to punish supporters of terror on Thursday sent shockwaves across Pakistan. Its military is on red alert and is anticipating a retaliatory strike from India. In panic, multiple incidents of firing by Pakistan have been reported along the line of control. Non-stop jet activity at the crucial Kamra Air Base signals that Pakistan is bracing for impact. Amid all this, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif made a shocking admission of Pakistan's role in terror activities.
We have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West, including Britain.
Even as they admit their role in global terror, Pakistan's foreign minister issued threats against India in parliament.
अगर पाकिस्तान की तरफ किसी किस्म की एडवेंचरिज्म का किसी को खाम ख्याली है तो वो भूल जाए. पाकिस्तान की आर्म्ड फोर्सेस पूरी तरह तैयार है.
The Pahalgam attack was one of the deadliest in recent memory and is now pushing the region closer to a breaking point. With military maneuvers underway and diplomatic ties fraying, the threat of escalation looms large. Vishwani Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
News coming in: the Defence Research and Development Organization's Development Laboratory, the DRDL in Hyderabad, has successfully conducted the ground testing of an active cooled scramjet subscale combustor for over 1,000 seconds, and this is about 16 minutes plus. That's a major development that is taking place. This test was held at the newly built Scramjet Connect test facility, and this marks a significant leap in hypersonic weapon technology following an earlier 120-second test in January. So that was 120 seconds test earlier. It's 1,000 seconds now. That's a major leap for now. The achievement validates the design and the endurance of the scramjet combustor. Now that's the core component of the hypersonic cruise missile. And why is this so significant? Because we all know of supersonic fighters that fly faster than the speed of sound. When you talk about hypersonic, that's actually 5 times, more than 5 times the speed of sound. That's almost like more than 6,100 kilometers per hour. And that's significant in new generation, new age warfare. So there is no interceptor that can stop a hypersonic missile that's coming your way, because it will come in so rapidly, so swiftly. Now these missiles, they actually rely on air-breathing engines with supersonic consumption for long duration flights. And the distances that they travel and in quick time. So this success, we are told, is a result of those collaborative efforts between the Defence Research and Development Organization, the industry and universities that are working with the Defence Research and Development Organization, and that's extremely significant. So this lays the foundation for India's own hypersonic cruise missile program. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh praised achievements of this, and he said it's a testament to the government's commitment to advanced defence technologies. DRDO Chairman Dr. Samir Kamath, he's congratulated the DRDL team led by Shri U. Raja Babu and Dr. G.A. Srinivas Murthy for demonstrating this technological feat. And I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Manjeet Singh Negi, joining us for more on this. Manjeet, when you talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, the big effort, when the country talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, the big effort is to make cutting-edge technology that's not available either off the shelf, or other countries are unwilling to give it to you. And this is where this test of a missile that one day will fly at Mach 5, more than 6,100 kilometers per hour, becomes extremely significant, Manjeet.
Well, Gaurav, day before yesterday, Pakistan has announced that they will conduct a surface-to-surface air missile test in Arabian Sea. But before that, India has first time carried out a successful ground test of scramjet engine, an air-breathing engine capable to sustaining combustion during the supersonic flight. And this crucial milestone in developing next-generation hypersonic missile that can travel speed of more than Mach 5. 5 times the speed of the sound, and these advanced weapon hypersonic missile have the potential to bypass the existing air defense system in Pakistan and with China to deliver rapid and high impact strike. And in today's circumstances, the United States, Russia and China have developed technology to field fast maneuvering hypersonic missile that fly at lower altitude and are extremely hard to track and intercept. So this is a big development in terms of recent development with Pakistan, and great achievement for DRDO and Indian Armed Forces.
Truly a game changer, and Manjeet, keep tracking that story. I will come back to you for more. For the moment, Manjeet Negi, for joining me here on India Today. Many thanks. Shifting focus to the other big story we're tracking here on India Today, and that's tensions between India and Pakistan. They've actually soared to new heights after Prime Minister Narendra Modi made it very clear Pakistan's state-sponsored terror will not go unpunished. Now, after the Pahalgam incident, now 26 Hindus were killed in Pahalgam. The Prime Minister said wherever the perpetrators are, not just the perpetrators, but those who trained, armed and launched them, those who've shielded them, those who supported them, wherever they may be hiding, the other end of earth, India will track them and bring them to justice. Now, India's resolve has never been clearer. And because of this, there's a diplomatic meltdown in Pakistan. Pakistan's actually in panic. What's happening on ground? We'll bring you more in this report.
India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backer.
A day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised India will crush terror and its supporters, New Delhi has turned up the heat many notches. The Home Ministry has given instructions to cancel all visas related to Pakistan. Home Minister Amit Shah spoke to all chief ministers. All states have been told to remove Pakistani citizens on Indian visit. Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi is in Srinagar to review the situation. He was briefed about the ongoing operations in the valley. He also met Jammu and Kashmir LG for security review. The diplomatic war between India and Pakistan has escalated further. After India suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, Pakistan responded by suspending the Shimla Agreement. While India closed the Attari border in Amritsar, Pakistan responded by closing down its post on the other side in Wagah. India has also revoked visas for Pakistan nationals, forcing them to leave immediately. In retaliation, Pakistan has cancelled visas of Indians under SARC scheme. While India declared Pakistan defence officers in India persona non grata, Pakistan responded by expelling Indian defence advisors. The situation at LOC also remains tense, even as Pakistan violates ceasefire. Pakistani nationals currently visiting India are rushing to reach the Attari-Wagah border to return home. They have a 48-hour deadline to leave the country following India's decision to suspend the SARC visa exemption scheme in the wake of Tuesday's Pahalgam massacre.
मैं सांगड़ जिले में मेरी शादी हुई है और मैं पाकिस्तान जाना चाहती हूँ।
अब परेशानी क्या आ रही है? आप इंडियन पासपोर्ट होल्डर हैं?
मेरे को परेशानी ये आ रही है कि हम इंडियन हैं, ये पाकिस्तानी है, जाने देंगे या नहीं?
बिल्कुल जब हमें टाइम दे दिया गया तो फिर तो हमें घबराहट थी कि भाई हमें जल्द से जल्द बॉर्डर क्रॉस करना है। 48 आवर्स का टाइम है। फिक्र ये रहेगी कि बच्चे जो है ना पीछे वो तो पाकिस्तानी पासपोर्ट पे ही हैं, तो अब उनका वीजा एक्सटेंड होगा नहीं, क्योंकि वो सारे 10 साल 8 साल 5 साल के बच्चे हैं।
Now there is a sense of panic at the Attari border where the Pakistani nationals have gathered in big number to return back to their countries. These Pakistani nationals had came to here to meet their relatives, near ones, dear ones. But now, after the closure of the border was announced, there is a sense of panic for the people to return back. Not only the Pakistani nationals are going back, but also Indians who are married in Pakistan are also heading back, although they are in a sense of panic that they'll be allowed or not.
After launching the diplomatic strikes in Pakistan, Indian Army, Navy and Air Force conducted special exercises. The Indian Army's Sapta Shakti Command executed a special heliborne operation rehearsal in Southwestern Command. The exercise underlines the growing prominence of heliborne tactics in India's defense playbook. The Indian Air Force conducted exercise Akraman, moving from eastern sector to central sector. Indian Air Force pilots carried out missions for mountain and ground targets, including long-range sorties. With Asim Bassi at the Wagah border and Mir Farid from Pahalgam, Bureau Report, India Today.
The security forces crackdown continues in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in and around Pulwama in South Kashmir. Information we are getting: forces have demolished the house of another terrorist. Remember, this is the third house to be taken down in 24 hours. Now we're told this is a lashkar-e-taiba terrorist. His name is Ehsan Sheikh. The information we've been able to gather through sources in the Jammu and Kashmir police is forces crackdown in Pulwama resulted in the house of another suspected terrorist, Lashkar-e-Taiba's Ehsan Sheikh. That's been taken down by the security forces in Pulwama. There are multiple raids that are being carried out almost simultaneously. So this demolition has taken place in the Muran area of Pulwama. Ehsan Sheikh, according to the police, is an active terrorist. Before that, 2 OGWs, overground workers, have been arrested. 2 pistols, 2 magazines and several rounds of ammunition were recovered from the Thokarpura area. This is Koimo in Kulgam. This was again a joint forces operation that was carried out. So this is the third house that has been taken down. Now the big question remains, are these houses being demolished, or did these terrorists have ammunition and explosives stored in their houses and that detonated? Because there are 2 reports that are emerging that some of the explosives kept inside the house when the house cordon and search operations were on. There were some explosives that were seen. We are still waiting for more clarity on this. None of the family members were out, because when security forces went in for the cordon and search operation, all of those people living in those houses, we're told, and in adjoining areas, were asked to come out. Another big story coming in: the US State Department spokesperson, big story, the US State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce snubbed a Pakistani journalist. Now the Pakistani journalist was trying to get a reaction in favor of Pakistan after the Pahalgam terror attack. And the US very clearly said the world stands united with India, and that's very clear. The US leads the way in this international support for India in the global war on Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror.
In his first term, President Trump offered to mediate between India and Pakistan on the issue of Indian-occupied Kashmir. I know you just said that this administration has no position on Kashmir right now, but there too much tension on
I'm
the
not going to
border?
be remarking, sir. As I mentioned, I appreciate this, and perhaps we'll come back to you with another subject. I will say nothing more on that situation. The President and the Secretary have said things, as have the Deputy Secretary. They've made their positions clear. I will not continue with something in that matter.
Is that the total?
The U.S. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce was visibly upset and refused to entertain the Pakistani journalist. Right at the beginning of the briefing, the U.S. State Department had an announcement about the Trump administration's support for India with regard to the terror attack in Pahalgam.
Now, on to the terrorist attacks in Pahalgam. As President Trump and Secretary Rubio have made clear, the United States stands with India, strongly condemns all acts of terrorism. We pray for the lives of those lost and for the recovery of the injured, and call for the perpetrators of this heinous act to be brought to justice.
Questions followed.
I wonder, does the US have sort of more reaction to that? Do you see Pakistan as potentially being behind this? And are you playing any role in diplomacy to try and cool tensions between the two countries?
Well, I put it in the topper, obviously, because it was a horrible situation. But at the same time, that's basically going to be the extent of the comments at this point. What I can tell you is, of course, as we all know, it's a rapidly changing situation. And we are monitoring it closely, as you might imagine. We, of course, are not now taking a position on the status of Kashmir or of Jammu.
But when the Pakistani journalist further tried to get a reaction, he was snubbed unceremoniously.
In his first term, President Trump offered to mediate between India and Pakistan on the issue of Indian-occupied Kashmir. I know you just said that this administration has no position on Kashmir right now, but there too much tension on the border?
I'm not going to be remarking, sir. As I mentioned, I appreciate this, and perhaps we'll come back to you with another subject. I will say nothing more on that situation.
That wasn't the only time. When New York Times published a report on Pahalgam calling it a militant attack, the U.S. State Department promptly corrected it and definitively called Pahalgam a terror attack. From the very beginning, the Trump administration has been standing by India. The U.S. President, right after the terror strike on 22nd April, first texted his condemnation of the terror strike, and then he dialed Prime Minister Modi, calling the attack deeply disturbing. He expressed his solidarity with India in the fight against terrorists. U.S. Vice President reiterated the President's support while visiting the Taj Mahal.
I want to just, of course, issue our condolences to the people of Kashmir who were affected by this terrible terrorist attack. The President's already spoken with Prime Minister Modi.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also expressed support for India. In a post on X, Rubio wrote, "The United States stands with India." Not only the U.S., other international allies too have rallied around India in this hour of grief and in the fight against terrorism. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday and strongly condemned the terror attack on Indian soil. He expressed solidarity with the people of India and the families of the victims. The Pahalgam terror model has eerie similarity with the Hamas attack of October 2023. UK MP Tanmanjit Singh Dhesi raised the Pahalgam terror attack in the British Parliament, and the British government paid its condolences, calling the attack devastating.
This attack on innocent tourists in Jammu and Kashmir. The families of the victims are very much in my prayers, and I sincerely hope that the perpetrators will be swiftly brought to justice. Does my right honourable friend, the Leader of the House, wish to take this opportunity on behalf of our Parliament to convey our heartfelt condolences to the Indian people?
Well, absolutely, and can I thank him for raising this. The horror of this horrific terrorist attack in Kashmir was utterly devastating, and it was, as he says, a cowardly act. And my thoughts and the thoughts of the whole government are with those affected, especially those who've lost.
France, European Union, Australia, China, Japan, everyone stands by India. Diplomats of US, UK, European Union, Italy, Qatar, Japan, China, Russia, Germany,
France were briefed by the Indian Ministry of External Affairs about what happened in Pahalgam on 22nd April. Bureau Report, India Today.
This will be a long war to defeat Pakistan-sponsored terror, but we will continue to report from ground zero as India wages this war, leads this war to break the back of Pakistani terror. That is all I have for you on this special edition of India First at 10. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.